because El Mencho was one of the biggest drug lords of all time and definitely much more violent than Chapo Guzman, than Mayo Zambada. So this sends a very strong message that the cartels in Mexico can no longer operate with impunity and complete you know in let me say this, that this sends a message to the cartels that they can no longer operate with impunity and violating with I've been giving so many interviews, my brother, but let me uh, this points to the fact and that the Sinaloa cartel, the Jalisco.
I think basically what he's trying to say is this is sending a message to the cartels, any cartels out there, that you are not untouchable. Because if the biggest, baddest one just got clapped, don't think you guys can't be next. That's basically what I think he's trying to say.
Generation cartel and other powerful cartels that operate in Latin America can no longer operate with the impunity of the past, that they can no longer, just violate at will, you know,
I think it
the,
will be no consequences.
the law, law and order, and that they will be held accountable. And I have to congratulate Mexico, but because this was a very, very effective takedown of one of the biggest leaders, and it was done, based on the intelligence that they conducted primarily.
Shout
Is
out
there?
Mexico. If that's
Are we
true,
going to
shout out
see
Mexico.
more
They're getting
violence
they shit
before
together,
things
man.
calm down?
I think that we'll see a little bit of violence, but here's the thing: is that I think Mexico is going to continue the attack not only on the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, but on Sinaloa. There's a difference between El Mencho and Mayo Zambada and Chapo Guzman. The big difference is that Mayo Zambada and Chapo Guzman allowed independent actions to be taken by their underlings. El Mencho did not do that. He was very much like a dictator
Dictator.
of a country, in this case of a cartel, where he controlled every operational aspect of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. I'm talking about money laundering, talking about logistics, I'm talking about drug production, I'm talking about every single activity. He was in charge. So whoever comes in behind him
Got
is
a
not going to be able to
big
do that.
shoes fill.
And clearly, there must have been some sort of informant, is what I'm gathering from what you've said. In
Yes.
order to get to him, to get through all these
Loose
layers,
lips,
there had to
sink
be
ships.
somebody with insider knowledge for this operation to be successful.
Well, here's the thing is that Mexico does a pretty good job, especially the Army and the Navy, of collecting intelligence. Even though it's illegal, they do conduct extra legal wiretaps. And then they also have established close ties with a lot of the population, which they didn't have in the past. So now the citizens of Mexico feel more confident in sharing information that they have with the armed forces of Mexico. But yes, it had to be intelligence that was collected, and the Mexican army and others acted on it, with great efficiency. I think that the Trump administration has been attacking Mexico, saying they're not doing enough. And I think that this action contradicts everything that he said about Mexico.
You talk about After how many years of the fucking cartels having control over y'all shit? The only reason why y'all
Is that
fucking
story
getting
still
y'all
on?
shit together is because he says so. Yes, sir. Another fuck I pack. We smoking on.
Trapmore gang, it is a rough day for the
Let me
cartels.
roll up that Mondoro
Apparently,
pack.
the
No,
most
what's his name?
wanted narco has just been killed. There's rumors that
Mencho.
American forces were
Let's roll up
involved,
that Mencho
and
pack, you heard?
now the gang slash
Yo, my
cartel
neck
that
hurts.
that
I
person
don't know
El
if I'm gonna be able
Mencho,
to
who's now
stream
been killed, was leading.
long
They have
tonight.
decided to completely turn Mexico upside down in retaliation. And apparently, there's rumors that they're even trying to kidnap American tourists as get back for the American government and American forces being in.
I told you that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna happen, bro. If you are from America and you are in those states, in those countries, southern countries, I would get the fuck out ASAP. I would get the fuck out of there ASAP. I would call your fucking airline and tell them you would like the soonest flight possible back to the United States because them niggas is finna smoke every single American they see, bro. I'm telling you. Because even though it was the Mexican army who took them out, they're going to blame America for getting involved in this shit, for putting the eyes on the Mexican government in the first place, because the Mexican government and the cartel was working together until Trump came along. So now, shit is getting real over there. You guys better get the fuck up out of there, Juar. I don't know why would you visit Mexico, especially with knowing that we have war with the cartel. Stupid.
This cartel leader. Now, before I get into it, I want to say no disrespect to the cartels. Hey, I don't want no issue. Hey, no issues with you guys. Okay, you guys are. I'm scared. Okay, so this is the latest news. Okay,
Yeah, what's
Mexico's
this
most
funny?
wanted drug dealer El Mencho has been killed in a military operation as violent clashes erupt across the country. And we're seeing footage of burnt out cars, okay? Organized crime groups are setting fires all across the Mexican resort city of Puerto Vallarta on Sunday. They're basically turning the country upside down. They're taking their ball and going home because their leader, unfortunately, was assassinated. And they're super, super not happy, okay? This is Mexico City. Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes, the powerful and long pursued head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel and one of the world's most wanted traffickers, died following a Mexican military operation. Sunday, handing the country a consequential victory as it looks to show tangible results to the Trump administration. Oseguera, a former police officer, led the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, as it
See, I
became one
told
of the
you they
most
were gonna
powerful
blame
and
Trump.
ruthless criminal organizations inside Mexico, according to the US DEA. Violence would erupt in several states in Mexico after security forces from several federal branches of Mexico's military carried out the operation in the town of Tapalpa in the western state of Jalisco. Mexico's Secretariat of National Defense said that the US authorities provided complementary information that supported the operation, so they're pissed at the Americans. So the US defense official confirmed that an interagency US task force played a role in the operation. However, the precise role that the US played is still unclear. Since its establishment in January, the Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel has regularly worked with the Mexican military through U.S. Northern Command to combat cartel operations along the U.S.-Mexico border, U.S. officials say. However, I just want to emphasize this was a Mexican military operation, so the success is theirs. They want to distance themselves from
Exactly.
this,
What the
okay, because it's
fuck?
popping off. It says during the raid, CJNG members traded fire with government forces, resulting in 4 gang members being killed at the scene, the defense ministry said. Oseguera and 2 others were seriously injured and died as they were being transported via aircraft to Mexico City, according to the ministry. 3 Mexican military personnel were also injured in the operation and transferred to a hospital in Mexico City for treatment. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum lauded the work of the agencies involved in the mission. Mexico's various state governments are working in full coordination to address the disorder, Scheinbaum said on Sunday, adding that activities are proceeding normally in most of the country. We work every day for the peace, security, justice, and well-being of Mexico, and that's him.
I hope
Hey,
so.
Nemesio. very, very crazy situation that's transpired. Okay, chaos has now erupted across Mexico. The military operation has triggered a series of violent events across the state of Jalisco, which is scheduled to host 4 matches of the 2026 World Cup in June. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's such a good idea. That's in June of this
World
year.
Cup? Oh
I don't
no.
know about that. Before spreading to other
You
states such
guys
as
gonna have
Michoacan and Guan.
you guys gonna have the lowest attendance ever of any World Cup. Cause if people traveling to Mexico during these fucking times, you're bugging. You're asking for a straight bullet. You're asking to get kidnapped. You're asking to get violated. I am not going to no World Cup in Mexico.
Guanajuato. Okay, my Mexicans, my Spanish ain't really all that, but anyway. Suspected members of organized crime groups would set buses on fire, block roads in the area, clashing with authorities. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro would report. Video obtained by CNN showed multiple fires burning and plumes of smoke rising across Puerto Vallarta, a resort town popular with U.S. tourists on Mexico's west coast. As a result of the violence, Air Canada has now suspended flights to Puerto Vallarta, and during the operation, Lemus urged residents to remain in their homes and said public transportation services in Jalisco would be suspended until the situation is under control. It's out of control. The governor said the violence has spread to at least 5 states.
Thank
They
God they
urged the
suspended the
public to
flights
avoid
over
traveling
there.
on highways. You can't even travel on the highways because the cartels are so turned right now. The Michoacan Public Security Secretariat reported efforts are underway to restore traffic flow following the road blockades. Meanwhile, the Guanajuato Security and Peace Secretariat reported fires at pharmacies and convenience stores in different parts of the state. Can't go shopping, can't use the highway. It's a big problem over there. No injuries reported, but there's been property damage. They announced the deployment of a security operation in coordination with the Army, the National Guard, and the municipal police. The U.S. State Department have even issued a travel advisory urging U.S. citizens to shelter in place in the Mexican states of Jalisco, Tamaulipas, and Michoacan due to an ongoing security operations and related road blockages and criminal activity. So, Oseguera worked for CJNG as it splintered off from the Milenio cartel, eventually rising through the ranks to lead the criminal enterprise. Under his leadership, the CJNG expanded its power and control in Jalisco and the surrounding area. Mexican authorities long sought to apprehend El Mencho for his involvement in the cartel. In 2018, Mexico's Attorney General office offered 30 million pesos, 1.7 million US dollars, for any information leading to his arrest. Oseguera was also wanted by the US authorities, who offered a bounty of $15 million for information leading to his arrest. Unfortunately, he wasn't arrested. He did lose his life in this operation. Probably would have been better for him to at least be kept alive and to be arrested like they did to Al Chapo, but they're very upset. The U.S. Justice Department charged Oseguera in 2022 with leading the effort to manufacture and distribute fentanyl for the importation into the U.S., okay? A Justice Department indictment of Oseguera said his organization is active in the Mexican states of Jalisco, Colima, Veracruz, and has a presence elsewhere. In 2025, Oseguera was sanctioned and classified as a specially designated global terrorist by the U.S. Department of State. And in a post on X, U.S. State Department Deputy Secretary Christopher Lando would describe his death as a great development for Mexico, the U.S., Latin America, and the world. He added that he's watching the chaotic scenes in Mexico with great sadness and concern. So apparently this was all came from pressure from Donald Trump himself. Scheinbaum has previously cast doubt on the strategy of targeting cartel kingpins, warning that decapitating criminal organizations can fracture them into rival factions and just ignite new cycles of violence. I personally think that they should legalize drugs. And just let Walmart sell all the cocaine. That's not even a joke. But anyway, that would sort this out. But we're not ready to have that conversation. It says, yet security remains a persistent vulnerability for her administration.
I think it's way too much addiction. Like, it's way too much addicts in America. That would just ruin America. Because look how much of us already is addicted to alcohol and tobacco and shit like that. Like, if they legalize every single drug, I think, I don't know. Because I know in other countries it worked. But I don't know if it'll work here. We got a severe problem with addiction in this country, bro. Even food, we addicted to food.
Over the past year, Scheinbaum has come under intensifying pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump as he threatens military intervention and high import tariffs if Mexico fails to demonstrate concrete gains in curbing drug trafficking. So Trump's really putting the pressure on for this stuff to happen. So shortly after the U.S. capture of ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, Trump suggested he could expand his military campaign to Mexico drug trafficking groups. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was thinking if things stay out of control in Mexico after this, You're going to send some troops over there. Scheinbaum has rejected the U.S. notion of strikes in Mexico, characterizing them as a violation of Mexico's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Instead, she's pursued a direct approach to combating organized crime by increasing cooperation with U.S. security partners, and that cooperation is now resulting in
Military.
people no longer being alive. Okay, and so this is a BBC article about the same thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But as you can see, this is the poster: $15 million for the arrest or conviction, and BBC News is trash. So I shouldn't be loaded that up. But let's have a look at what people are saying on Reddit about this situation. Okay, basically, this is going around r/World News. It's got 2,000 comments and 19,000 upvotes. This is super viral, and everybody wants to know about it. The leader of the Mexico's Jalisco cartel, Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, has been killed by the Mexican army. People are saying, oh, wow, this is a big one. This dude has basically been the top cartel guy in Mexico for like a decade or more. I've been reading about him for years. He was saying, yeah, there's a famous phone call where he calls the police chief and asks him what the F his officers are doing harassing my boys. And the police chief apologizes and promises to pull everybody back. All right, I've got the audio here. So let's refamiliarize ourselves with El Mencho's, very...
Yeah, because I really don't know anything about Mexican lore. Like, I'm not from Mexico, so I don't know anything about... Most I know is the Sinaloa cartel, because I heard that name before. But I don't remember the Mencho cartels. I don't know none of them shit. And I don't know who's the leader of the Sinaloa shit either. So it's like, I have no clue what's going on in Mexico. I just know there's a lot of bad guys with a lot of money controlling shit out there.
A very hard-line approach on the police and the amount of power that he has, because this is going to break it down.
16. El Mencho, the notoriously violent leader of Jalisco's new generation cartel, was furious after law enforcement began arresting his men and shutting down several of his drug operations. In response, El Mencho called his local police chief's phone and gave him a scary wake-up call.
Delta 1. Hey, ¿quién habla? Mira bien, hijo de tu madre. Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tu gente a la... Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tu partida, si no te voy a partir tu madre, tienes toda tu bola de perros. Te tengo identificado 30 güeyes. Hasta tus perros te voy a matar si no te relajas, güey.
He said, oh, damn, I missed it. Hey, hold on, go back. I want to read that. Because I understand Spanish, but not that kind of Spanish. That nigga speaking fast and he's speaking that Mexican slang.
Scary wake-up call.
Delta 1. Hey, ¿quién habla? Mira bien, hijo de tu madre. Soy Mencho,
Listen here, you
güey.
son of a
Relaja
bitch.
tu gente.
He said it's Mencho. Yo, he didn't give a fuck, bro. He caught them niggas and let them know that it was him. Holy. That nigga wasn't sneak dissing or nothing. He was calling these people like, yo, listen, it is Mencho. And I'm telling you right now, back the fuck down or else I'm gonna fuck you up. Tell your cops to stop pulling us over. Bro, this is crazy.
Soy Mencho, güey. Relaja tu partida, si no te voy a partir tu madre, tienes toda tu bola de perros.
And the rest of your dogs, I have 30 of you fuckers located. Oh my god. This nigga was a problem, bro. Oh my god. And you really think those 30 motherfuckers locations is gone now that he's dead? Hell no. They need to get those officers out of there, bro. Them niggas gonna get smoked. I'll even kill your dogs if you don't chill the fuck out. Oh, what do you say? He says, yes, sir. Look, this is the cop talking out. Yes, sir. I'll tell them to back down. This nigga had the cops scared of him, bro. This nigga had the cops fearing him, bro. That is insane. Get your shit together or you'll be the first I'll make an example of. Sir, you know me. I'm on your side. How we got recorded evidence of a cop saying, you know me, we on your side? How? We don't mess with you, but you fuck with us. No, sir, I'll tell them back now. Because you all take my money like a bunch of pigs. You better not turn off your fucking phone. I'll be calling again to see if you guys chilled the fuck out.
So even the cops are talking about, look, we're on your side, I'm on your side.
The cop just said, you know I'm on your side. We have a lot of respect for you. That's scary, bro. Imagine being in a country where the cartel is telling your police officers, the people you pay taxes to protect you, telling dumb niggas they better chill the fuck out or else we're gonna kill you. and dumb niggas is saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. That's crazy to me.
Right? He was saying, look, yep, though El Mencho does sound shook in that interaction, he probably thought the government is going to replace his ass despite all the bribes he's giving the government, and now looks like it finally happened. He was saying, I live around the state this sack of crap used to crime around, and as I'm writing this, they're burning convenience stores and pharmacies in retaliation. I don't know what gas station sushi did to these guys, but they are pissed. That comment's wild. Says the worst part is how they carry themselves around as if they deserve to lash out, like if they were a humanitarian force or rebellion. They're the worst of the worst when it comes to people, and I use that in a broad sense. Says, yeah, you'd think these guys would be at least willing to accept the risk that comes with the territory. I'm not saying they can't be upset their boss was killed, but the game is the game. This is the game. It's showing that the next time we get our boss, it comes with the cost of burning down the city's infrastructure and the other.
This nigga's defending the cartel. He said this is the game. It's showing that the next time you get our boss, it comes with the cost of burning down the city's infrastructure and the other horrible shit they will do in retaliation. There is especially a major incentive for the successor to order those actions as they directly protect him. This dude is I need to find out where this dude is. He said our boss.
The horrible shit they'll do in retaliation. There's especially a major incentive for the successor to order those actions as they directly protect
But he's
him.
right though.
It says, I look forward to the game no longer being in their favor. They're not special. They're just meat bags like the rest of us. Okay, that is a description of terrorism. I don't know why you would expect violent criminals to behave rationally, like they have any respect for whatever rules they don't feel beholden from. It says they're acting rationally in their perspective. This response by whoever is now in control of the organization is calculated to establish a high cost for something like this happening in the future in order to reduce the likelihood of it happening to them, as well as demonstrating strength to solidify their new position of power. Well, that's a good approach if Donald Trump wasn't down to slap back. And so if things don't get under control, I think Trump could be actually sending troops in. I think whoever's in charge might be thinking maybe that wasn't the right move. People saying, guys, this is huge. He was the head of the biggest cartel, and they not only got him, they caught some of his biggest people in that cartel. The cartels will retaliate big time. There are a lot of reports and rumors they're going to start killing civilians at 1 p.m. We're all afraid in Jalisco. Update.
That's crazy.
Writing this as of 3 p.m., and it seems like it's all cooling out. There's still some chaos, but it hasn't escalated, and it seems those threats to civilians being killed was just to create panic. People saying, I heard 2 p.m., not joking. I have family in Guadalajara. They've been given a 2 p.m. curfew. Anyone caught outside after 2 p.m. are under the threat of death. Everything is shut down here. I can't order food or Uber rides. Never seen anything like it. Streets are mostly empty. I don't even want to peek outside.
If that's true, that's insane that the cartels got shit on lock like that, bro. That niggas can't even fucking get Uber Eats because people are scared to leave their houses. That's crazy.
Says the Mexican people deserve so much better than to be under the thumb of these fucks. Hopefully a lot of the Jalisco cartel end up dead or in jail as they try carrying out their revenge attacks. Okay, people say I don't know specifics here, but there's usually a power vacuum and the existing members of a cartel fight and kill each other to take control. Unfortunately, there are always countless civilians caught in the crossfire of such battles. And basically there's a lot of reports of people saying that my cousin's been missing for 5 years because of this piece of shit. Rest in piss fucker. That's what they're saying. Really, really sad. Okay, that can't be right. The good, this guy truly did not deserve to roam free. The bad, there's probably another guy taking his place as we speak. The ugly, the undominated going to this. So there's a lot of different threads on Reddit about this that are quite interesting, and I'll tell you about some of those throughout this video. We already looked at this one. But I tell you what's interesting, okay? I tell you what's interesting. Let's take a little look at his Wikipedia page, and we can just glean a little bit of backstory about how he actually got to this point. Now, obviously, as you can see, this is a rapidly updating situation. All right. But basically,
separated
this
clavicle,
is
that's
El
killing me,
Mencho,
bro.
right?
It's
He was
fucking
a
cold.
really serious big deal running the CJNG, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. This was a serious crime syndicate, okay? Well, it is a serious crime syndicate. I don't want to say anything bad about them. That would be bad. But obviously, he was basically wanted. He'd come up in a very interesting way. He was born into poverty in the state of Michoacan. El Mencho grew avocados and dropped out of primary school before emigrating illegally to the U.S. in the 1980s. So he was over.
So he was over here before he became the fucking What the hell?
In the US making links in the 80s. After being arrested several times, he was deported back to Mexico in the early 90s, and he worked for the Milenio cartel. He eventually climbed to the top of the criminal organization and then founded CJNG after several of his bosses were arrested or killed. So it's highly likely that, you know, some
Other
young
one
upstart
is
is
gonna make
going
his
through
own
the same
shit
thing
now.
and is about to establish or take the reins of these violent groups. His notoriety was a result of his aggressive leadership and sensationalist acts of violence against both rival criminal groups and Mexican security forces alike. This brought him the increased government attention and extensive manhunt. Security forces were trying to work out where he was hiding in the rural terrains of Jalisco. He was hiding out, was guarded by mercenaries with military training, but he unfortunately was killed during this military operation. Well, it depends how you look at it. But essentially, okay, he kind of grew up in a poor family, spent time in the US, crossed the border. Even the DEA believed that during this time, that's when he became involved in meth production and trade in Redwood City, which is on the San Francisco Peninsula there. He was arrested in San Fran for selling narcotics, deported to Mexico several months later, but he even re-entered the US and resettled in San Francisco. So he had them California links, man. I definitely don't want to say nothing too bad. He got arrested for federal drug charges in Sacramento, California. Oh no, I know a few people out there. According to court records, him and his brother Abraham were at a San Francisco bar known as Imperial to carry out a H deal, 5 ounces for $9,500. And El Mencho actually acted as a lookout. I'm gonna mute my phone because I don't want the cartel to be messaging me right now. So the transaction was set up by the police. They handed over perfectly stacked dollar bills instead of loose ones through a wiretap conversation that El Mencho warned his brother to never do business with them again since they were undercover cops. So he rose to become the leader. And what's really interesting, okay, it says El Mencho started as a member of the assassin squad that protected the drug lord Armando Valencia Cornelio, alias El Maradona. His boss was arrested by the Mexican authorities, and at the same time, a rival criminal group known as Los Zetas, with the backing of the Gulf Cartel, carried out an armed offensive against the Milenio cartel in Michoacan. The attack forced the Valencia family in exile to Jalisco. He relocated in the state capital, Guadalajara, with his father-in-law, and basically they created an alliance between the Milenio cartel and the Sinaloa cartel, headed by Ignacio Nacho Coronel, a high-ranking drug lord, an ally of El Chapo. So under Coronel, El Mencho and his group managed the Sinaloa's cartel drug operations, finances, and murder activities in the states of Colima and Jalisco. So basically, you know, all of these little moves that he made basically ended up putting him to the very top of his own cartel. When the Milenio top leader, El Lobo, was arrested, his brother Juan Carlos was also arrested, and then 2 months later, Corona was killed in a shootout with the Mexican army. Following their downfalls, the Milenio cartel began to rupture, and El Mencho tried to take over the leadership structure. And then basically there was a little bit of back and forth. Okay, one sect within the cartel wanted to appoint as the leader somebody else, El Pilo, who worked closely with a couple of guys before their arrests. And basically one of the clan members wanted El Mencho to take control. El Mencho then asked the other Milenio bloc to hand over Gerardo Menzola, aka Tecato or Cochi, for killing a group of men that reported to him. The other division refused the request, and that prompted an internal war. So the Milenio cartel split into two. One side known as the Resistance, the other was Los Mata Zetas, or the Zeta Killers, headed by El Mencho, and they basically went to war over the turf. And El Mencho's group launched a propaganda campaign against its enemies. They denounced extortions done by rival gangs against civilians, businessmen, and government authorities. And the Los Mata Zetas eventually won their war. They consolidated their power in western Mexico, and that's when they changed the name to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. Okay, and as leader, he basically expanded. He corrupted government officials. It went from a small offshoot criminal gang to one of the leading groups in Mexico. He took that set to the very top. He established himself as one of Mexico's most wanted criminals, and his fame is due to a number of factors, including aggressive and sensationalist displays of public violence by the CJNG. These guys were brutal. They are brutal. Okay. Direct attacks against Mexico's security forces earned El Mencho a nickname and a reputation as the principal enemy of the state and a dangerous criminal. Okay, and the fall of other Mexico's top crime bosses would basically clear the way for El Mencho to become the top dog over there. He consolidated his operations by fighting off incursions from other groups like the Los Zetas and the Knights Templar cartel. And basically, he was responsible, according to the government, for overseeing the CJNG's entire operation. The whole thing, all right? He created a bastion for methamphetamine trade. They were absolutely booming over there, okay? They basically concentrated in 8 states. They had a firm grip of the drug trafficking operation. And the only place where they'd actually were losing presence was in Mexico City. They've got ties with criminal groups in the US, Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa. They're plugged in all over the world, and they're mainly focused on cocaine and methamphetamine sales. Okay, he made the gang one of Mexico's most profitable gangs, and it was estimated El Mencho's group had 50 billion in total assets. They really are like Walmart.
That's
Okay,
OD.
I was saying Walmart should be able to sell drugs. These guys had it sewn up. They had Walmart money.
Nigga, 50 billion in assets. Oh my god, no wonder why these niggas, yo, bro, no wonder why these niggas is so powerful out there. How in the fuck y'all let that shit get so fucking bad, bro? Like, it's cause they was in the politicians' pockets. Yo, bro. This is what we talk about when there's no law, there's no country. These motherfuckers was doing whatever they wanted with Mexico. Whatever they wanted because they had all the politicians in their pockets. They had the police scared to fucking death. And they had $50 billion in assets. What in the fuck was gonna stop these niggas, bro? That is crazy. Mexico needs some help, bro. They need help from outside, bro, because they getting fucked from within right now. Because even though we took out this dude, Mencho, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like a civil war within to figure out who's gonna be the next top dog. I already know something's gonna happen. And it's gonna be like history repeated itself. They separate to two factions, then this faction grows bigger than this faction, and then this faction is OD powerful now, so this faction becomes the fucking well-known faction of the fucking this part of Mexico, and then they so big and strong now that they got the police under their belt and they got the fucking politics under their belt as well. Bro, watch. It's just gonna be history repeating itself, repeating itself, repeating itself. Until they have some real fucking structure, real fucking authority out there in Mexico where they not allowing these niggas to get big in the first place, not allowing these niggas to get rich as fuck like that in the first place. This shit is never gonna end unless they start cracking these shit, like cracking it down where these niggas ain't getting no more money. Cause money is the root of all evil. These niggas, you give them mad money, that's when they could make crazy ass moves like send fucking 100 people to the airport with guns. Fucking like these niggas could do some wicked shit, bro.